Dylan here. I am co-founder of Cybuck Media. We are a boutique media agency based out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Myself and co-founder Sid Neal and our community manager Haley thought it would be good to have a bit of an end-of-year roundtable discussion on camera as a way to share and contextualize our journey of how we came to be and what we did to grow and scale our business throughout the year that was 2020. Let's get to it.
Want to welcome two people. One's behind the camera, Sam Wong, and also we have Haley, who is our community manager. Sam is editor, videographer.
Yeah.
He does Dylan shit. So anyways, I'm just going to introduce Haley here, and
Hi.
she can continue on with the podcast, and I think she has some questions for us, so.
I do have some questions for you.
All right.
As an icebreaker, I will read for you the podcast rules I was given because I do listen to a good amount of podcasts. However, I have never been tasked with leading one or asking really anyone questions on tape ever. So as I was stressing about what to ask you, my boyfriend was kind enough to make this list for me after he had a few whiskeys. So here we go.
I like it.
What do you guys think the number one rule is? What do you think he labeled as the number one? Like if you were to be managing a podcast, what's number one? I'm interested to know. What do you think?
Make sure the sound works. That's where I would go from.
Well, that's from your perspective for sure.
Have somebody to talk to.
Great. It is in all caps, do not lie. Do not lie. Because you're on the air, right? I thought that was so interesting. I was like, yeah, you don't want to lie because you're on a podcast, so don't lie.
So where does this come in? What if the questions
I lie
start...
all the time. I lie to set this up. I didn't set it up, but I take the credit for it for whatever reason.
We'll change it. Lie strategically.
There we go. I like that.
What else do we have? We have let the guest be the star no matter what.
Agreed.
So I'll keep
100%.
that in mind
Yeah.
as I go through here.
Oh, yeah, so we're the guest.
Yeah, you're the guest.
Well, technically Haley's the guest, but
Technically, that's right. Then there is make them laugh, break the ice, hence what we are doing right now. And then banter was the next one.
I'm the king of that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
king of the bullshit.
So
Banter Sunil, bullshit.
banter/bullshit. I'll update that one. Always have a question in your pocket.
That's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Even like when I started the podcast too, like with Ethno, it's like you have to really crawl the line between listening attentively and caring, and then sometimes it creeps in. You're like, okay, I need a question. It's like, well, if you just sit and listen, something will come up, right?
Yeah. Don't get too attached to your list of
Yeah.
questions, but also have one
sure you
just
have a
in
fucking
case,
list.
right?
I'm going to actually add a little more to that. I know there's a lot of podcasts right now being done where people are drinking during the podcast, a beer and scotch or whatever. Mm-hmm. I can't. It affects me.
Yeah.
When I have a drink, I'm not smart anymore. Right? It slows me down.
Hey.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you mean it slows you down? Like you can't think as quickly?
Yeah.
Or like you're more lethargic?
I'm too relaxed. I'm not energized as I usually
I was gonna
am.
bring some wine or something, but I forgot for today. If we were shooting next Friday, I would have before holiday.
Okay, the last rule is very, very appropriate. It just says cliche bullshit, have fun, blah, blah, blah. So at that point, we were sick of making the rule.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Right?
I can do that.
Yeah. So now we're ready.
We're ready.
The rules.
We're ready.
We know the rules. So I really do want to go to the beginning. Like I want to take it back to how the idea started, and eventually we'll arrive at the present. Does that sound good to you?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So how far are we going back?
Where did you two meet?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
not that far back.
Come on.
I thought we were going back to childhood. I'm like, all right.
Tell me what was going. So obviously we know that you guys built or started this company together. So even you can go a step back further and like what was going on in your life when you decided that you were about to create a media agency?
So we met. I was working at a restaurant, and I won't name it for the purposes of I maybe have some stories to tell down the road on air that I don't want to incriminate anyone.
Yeah.
Patty. And but I was working downtown, and Sunil would come in and have his nightly nightcap and a bit of a regular. And after a while, we got to talking and having a couple of nights out and having a couple of beers, and then I started shooting for him. We had a meeting, I think, a week or two later, something like that. After it's like, oh yeah, Dylan, you do video shit. I'm like, yeah.
So I'm gonna talk about the specific day.
Please.
Where it was, I don't know. Like, I usually show up there because this place was across the street from where I lived. Please. And I used to go there a couple of times a week. And I think this was like a Friday or a Saturday night. It was definitely a weekend. I show up at 10 o'clock. I sit down. I didn't even order a drink. And Dylan comes to me. He comes right up to me. He's like, "Hey, are you gonna be here for a bit?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Good. I need a drink." Smacks his stuff down at the bar stool next to me and takes off. Goes downstairs, does his stuff, comes back up and grab the beer. And that's when he started chatting. Yeah. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? And
can I pause you and ask a question?
Sure.
At that point, how well did you know Dylan?
Somewhat. We've went out a couple of times with a bunch of people there that work there, and the odd beer here and there. And
I don't think we had, like, it's usually with a group of people and everything, so we hadn't really, like, sat down and.
So you knew of each other.
Yeah, we just talked, probably talked sports, talked about a couple other things, and
stuff.
Pipelines and electric and,
exactly.
and fuel and solar and things like that.
Gotcha.
And me just bantering him and
messing
with
up.
him. Yeah.
So now he's like, I need a drink, and this is the moment.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Then he comes to me. He comes to me after I BS with this guy. He wants to sit next to me and talk to me about stuff. But,
Continue.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we sat there. We started talking about what Dylan's plans in the future and what he wants to do, and he wanted to do videography. Is that the word, videography?
Well, no, I mean, that's what I was doing. I think it was more within the film world and specifically. I think videography just happened to be kind of the immediate commercial aspect of that, right? But yeah, regardless, I had been doing, that kind of work, and you needed someone to do that. So
so I wanted to start a personal brand. And like, Dylan, come on in. And I think like 2 weeks. No, I think it was the same week or within a few days. Dylan came in, and he grabbed the camera. He goes, "Let's go for a walk." We went for a walk around the harbor here and tested the camera out. I think we probably still have that. The clip.
Maybe.
I remember standing there. You're shooting up this way and down and everything else, and like, this is good. So we came back, worked some numbers out, and I was taking off on holidays. Dylan's birthday was coming up, and we're like June 1st, right? June 1st, 2017.
2017.
Okay. And but I think he started a couple of days before that. So it was like end of May was when Dylan came in.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I think
I was shooting. We were building a personal brand and shooting. Yeah, just for the listener, for shooting vlogs and entrepreneurial related content is what that mandate was at the beginning. Yeah.
So this was only part time or not even. It's probably
it's
part time. It was part time.
Yeah.
I guess like 2 weeks later, Dylan's like, "I'm gonna leave this job."
My restaurant job.
Yeah, your restaurant job. Yeah, no, not this job. Yeah. Right? Obviously still here.
Yeah.
I was ready to quit. Here we are 4 years later.
Yeah.
No.
He's like, "I want to quit. Are we gonna do a little more of this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll carry on." And then 6 months later, I think it was full time.
I think it was.
Well, no, not quite full time, but close to it. I think you're putting in full time hours, but you weren't getting paid full time.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah. And at the time, this is all for you. This is all for the personal brand that you were.
Haley, everything's for me.
I know everything's for you.
It was all for the personal brand, correct.
But then I was doing freelance stuff at the time, still kind of here and there. I wasn't doing it as much, than I had been prior, just because of time. And then Sunil was bringing people in his business sphere, and they were going, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, curious. Obviously, this even 3-4 years ago, this was still kind of a new thing, right? Like it's changed a lot in terms of content and businesses being their own media companies and stuff like that has really taken off. And back then it wasn't really it wasn't as popular. So people were like, what the hell are you guys doing? And they would come into his mortgage office or whatever. He's got his, well, I guess,
I own a mortgage company, right? People come in there, it's like, okay, you're a mortgage broker. Like, what's the point of having all this? I'm like, it's got nothing to do with mortgages.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't start this to build a mortgage company. Not at all. We started this for, doing other things, right? I was looking at long-term growth because I don't want to be in the mortgage business in 5 years. And, so, all the podcasts and everything else that we somewhat started and the vlogs we were doing, it was more geared towards entrepreneurship, not mortgage business.
But you had a goal in mind to transition what you were doing even at that time into something new.
So now I'm going way back. This is probably late 90s. Warren Buffett is I love what the guy does. So I've read, I don't read much, but his books I've read. I've been involved in the stock market for 20 years, and just watch what the guy does. Mm-hmm. And at one point he was like, you know what, instead of buying shares of the company, I want to buy companies. I was like, that's a good point here, right? But this guy's buying $100 billion companies or $50 billion companies. Can I do the same thing with 100,000 or 150,000? Because in the mortgage business, I'm getting business owners coming into the office talking about their children not want to take over their company.
Right.
And these guys like, okay, should we sell the company?
The family business, not taking over the family business.
The kids don't want to take over the family business. They want to do their own stuff.
Right.
And these are viable companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, can I purchase some of these and take it to a different level?
Right.
So I want to build a brand.
Yes.
Where we're showcasing that, talking about it, and eventually that time will come to purchase it. So that was the whole start of it all. Now things started moving. People were coming in, and they were asking Dylan, like, podcast is over. We hit the close button or power off button, and people will say, hey, could you do this for our company? And we've always turned it down. Well, back then we did. And I think about a year later, like, should we start actually doing something like this for somebody? And Dylan was like, yeah, I think we should, because we're leaving a lot of experience on the table and money on the table as well. So why not start? So we actually started a media company, I think, 2 years ago.
That's when we came up with it.
When we came up with it, we started working on it. We didn't incorporate. So we started working on it, but I was taking time away from my mortgage company to start building this side here, and the mortgage company started slowing down. Like, right. Oh, okay, this is not good, right? So I took I came back to the mortgage company, started working there, and we had to come up with a plan to execute here. Mm-hmm. And I think end of last year we started. So end of 2019, we're talking more and more about it, and it was like February of this year, February 2020. I think February 28, 2020 is when we incorporated the company.
Perfect timing.
Perfect time, because
perfect time in history to begin building a business.
Yeah.
You guys,
but it I look back, and like for the first couple of weeks, like everyone for the first month or two, we're all going, what the fuck, right? Like, but at the same time, I look back and it's like, it was the perfect time.
It was the perfect time,
and
exactly.
Like, to learning everything during a year like this and building a company, especially I know you've done this before, but from my perspective too, it's like, I'm actually, I'll use this extremely lightly. I'm not glad everything happened the way it did, but I'm glad I got to learn these lessons, the hard way, get really thrown into the fire for something like this, right?
Why? Why are you glad? What was so great about it?
Well, let me rephrase. I'm not glad that a pandemic happened, but I'm glad I got to learn, because I think there's valuable lessons learned starting a business regardless, let alone you got to navigate. Obviously, I have a business partner that's already been in this position before, and so that mentorship is valuable as well. So I'm thankful for that. But beyond those lessons you learn about building a business and dealing with people and all those kinds of things, like, it's amplified when you're in a state like the world is now, or where the economy is now, where the market is now. Mm-hmm. So, and I just think those lessons, they're being learned, and I think I haven't even really processed them yet. You know, you kind of, like, you just keep moving, so you're thinking about it. But I think those things will really come into view in 2, 3, 4, 5 years when we look back and be like, holy fuck, like that was a hell of a year.
Yeah, because we had stuff planned out for 6 months prior to even us starting the company, right? Legally starting the company, and like office space and how we're gonna do this, how we're gonna meet people, and all of that stuff as of March 13th or 12th or 11th, whenever we shut the office here, changed. Okay, you know, and first like 2 weeks, like what the hell? What do we do? And obviously at that time, you know, making sure people are safe. We're in our bubble, not leaving anywhere. Okay, now it's time to figure this shit out.
What did that entail? How do you figure shit out?
You know, instead of podcasts face to face, it was Zoom calls.
Right.
Dylan's driving the street in his truck and taking videos of the pandemic, all the stores being closed down and boarded up. And if you guys haven't checked that video, take a look. It's one of my favorite videos that you did. Yeah. That 30-second, 1 minute clip.
Yeah, we'll link to it.
Amazing, right? So
I haven't seen that actually. I would love to see that. That's really
on
cool.
Ethno,
yeah, it's on Ethno. You know, adjusting that way, and then, and not only us now. How do we reach other businesses, because they're going through the same thing as well, right? We can't, you know, I don't want Dylan out there recording and shooting these guys during the time that we didn't even know what was going on, right? So kind of figuring that stuff out and building a business around that.
How to reach out and how to still make connections, because you still have to make connection, but it becomes a different sort of space. So are you guys not probably actively trying to sell at that time, or like what sort of position did you take? You were doing free stuff.
It was, I think that we probably talked about that and said that that's what we're going to do. You know, as long as people are comfortable and we're doing something, it's like, here, we'll give you a video, and you know, and reaching out to people and I think talking about those lessons learned, like that's a crash course in reaching out to people, regardless of whether you're in a pandemic or not, right? And realizing the value in that. And I think, you know, connections that were made through that time are, you know, some are still with us and some aren't, but I think regardless, they're valuable nonetheless, right?
People were receptive though to that.
People wanted to talk.
Totally.
I always find people want to talk, right?
Yeah.
I think people are scared to pick up the phone, scared to say hi or whatever. People want to talk, right? You know, if you call them right now and it's a bad time, guess what? There's always going to be a good time. You just got to figure out what that good time is. Yeah. And the easiest thing is just ask them when there's a good time, right? And go from there. But yeah, just, you know, building and talking to people and adding value, like, you know, talking to them and, you know, seeing if they're safe or if there's anything you can do was one thing. And also like, hey, by the way, you know what? We know business is not doing well, but, you know, and this is stuff that we tested already with TFS, with the mortgage company.
Yeah.
We know things work, right? It's just a matter of the economy or people get somewhat comfortable where we can somewhat open at a social distance level and go and shoot and run ads for them and see stuff happening. It was there.
Yeah. That's the central challenge. I think that some people probably didn't have to experience, because some workplaces were able to go fully remote, right? Like there are people that now have adapted their business model and it's totally remote, right? It doesn't really matter to them. They're like, you know, we could do this for an indefinite period of time and it doesn't really change things so much. But the foundation of a media agency that's doing it right is you have to go and shoot. You have to be on site. You have to be on location. So then that presents an interesting challenge when you no longer can be close to people. So when did that sort of start to turn?
But no, I was just going to say, like, on a side note, like, you know, it was April. Well, when the first ship first went down, you know, mid-March 13th or whatever, and that next week everything was pretty much shut down. And then the 7 o'clock cheers started happening. And I live in the West End, and I, you know, heard this saxophone being played, "O Canada," you know, 7 o'clock every night, and I heard it, and it was a really cool moment I found in the community for everyone kind of coming together and everything. And I was like, who's this playing the saxophone? And I was thinking, like, I got to do a video on this person. I would reach out, right? So I think I Googled, like, Vancouver saxophone lady. And there was a Narcity article or something like that, or one of the local ones, Daily Hive or something, had done something.
Someone beat you to it.
Someone
but
beat
the
me to
idea
it.
was
But,
there.
well, they beat me to the article. They didn't beat me to the
not
video.
The quality.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, there was no videos done, and I could see her. It was funny. So, anyways, I DM'd her. I found her on Instagram, DM'd her, Kaylee, and I said, "Would you be interested in doing something like this?" She's from Edmonton as well, so good old Alberta girl, and we started talking, and I could literally, from my balcony, if I lean a certain way, I could see her, and I could never pinpoint where she is, and we're talking on the phone. But anyway, so
you're creeping her.
Where is her building? Please tell me. As someone that's about to move to the West End, I just want to know.
Yeah, it's near Lost Lagoon.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, but that was one thing where that was probably end of March, early April, and we shot the interview all outside, social distance and everything. And I forget why I was telling this story. It had to do with what you were saying before.
Well, I think it sounds like that's how sort of the creative mindset had to adapt, right?
Instead of reaching out, right?
Yeah,
it was
reaching out to people about things that were happening now and the new things that were happening now.
I think it's about people being receptive, and I think, like Sunil said, people want to talk, or people are more receptive than you think. And every time we would reach out to someone, they'd be like, "Yeah." I think which is a testament to the people in the community, or the people in the small business market, or whatever the hell it is, that they know that, we're going to get through this together, or stuff like that. You just gotta reach out.
And Haley, I've always built my business as the office is not here, right? So we've been in cloud from day one. So getting access to everything wasn't that difficult. Now the difficult part now that we have is Dylan records something and he needs to get it over to Sam, and we have a slowdown of internet, right?
Yeah.
But I think besides that, there was really no challenge of either working from the office or working from home.
Right. You guys were able to adapt pretty quickly in that space.
Yeah. Just the meetings weren't happening, but the meetings were happening over Zoom or Google Meet or wherever it was.
So you guys got to reach out to people. So that was also not beginning of pandemic. That was in the earlier stage, you could call it. And now are you finding that as people, there's a lot in the news right now about the fatigue, right? People are feeling the fatigue. People are tired of this. People are exhausted. They want to see their friends, their family. I think my view is probably a little bit different because Ontario, where I was locked down for a lot longer. And people were really, really feeling it there. So I don't know if that was different in Vancouver, but have you seen a shift? Do you feel like now reaching out, things are different, or are people still fairly receptive? How has that changed over the course here, if at all?
I think people are still receptive. I think there's an element now moving into winter. I think once the days started getting shorter and the weather started changing, after the end of September, I think I don't want to say people are on a shorter fuse, but I think it's getting to people, and myself included, right? And I think you get to that point, you're like, holy shit, I got to take a step back or whatever. So, I think that's another part of learning to navigate and learning to deal with people and figuring out what makes sense. And then you look moving into the holidays too. I think people are, after this year, are really looking forward to something to look forward to. We can't necessarily be with their families in the same way, but it's a break and it's Christmas and, it's a moment. So I think all those things come into play. And hopefully with the vaccine coming here to Canada, maybe by spring or summer, we can have, some sense of normality, which things will probably end up changing then. But I think right now, people are just trying to get through this winter.
Yeah, there's a head down element right now to people's attitude, or we've just got to look forward, right? But also got to do something now too. So it's a tricky one for sure.
For me, these whoever I reach out to or talk to, if they're somebody I know from before, or it's a brand new DM or a call to somebody I've never talked to, I'm always talking to them what's going on, right? It's human connection first. How you guys doing? How's your friends? How's your family? How you guys? Is there anything I can do here, right? Yeah. And build that, because that's where everything is. And I try to leave that call, besides if it's a a lawyer call, I try to leave those calls where they're feeling much better at the end of the day. Or at the end of the call, not at the end of the day. That's how I start off. And typically when I'm down a call, I feel good. I feel happy.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully it's the same thing towards them. So most of my calls are pretty positive.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right? I just kind of started that way and ended that way.
But there's a need for that right now, for sure. There's just a need for general like a push towards maintaining a positive outlook, right? If that's probably a little airy-fairy way to say it, but...
I'm not a political person, but we had 4 years of nothing but bullshit, right? Nothing but anger and hurt and putting people down, and just because one idiot was doing it, everyone was looking at that as the norm because of the position this guy was in. The amount of hatred and just hurtful comments right now is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think 2021, 22 going in is just going to be a better and better year. Right?
Well, it's nice to hear that you guys had that experience of getting to, even if you're doing free stuff for people, you're learning lessons, you're creating opportunities for people to connect. Like, there were people that were really, really feeling that, like, through this portion. So that's very cool to hear. I really like that. And then I guess now we're like, where are we with it now? So that we went through that period of, like, you guys learned a lot of lessons, obviously. You got the experience of, no one will probably ever be able to experience what you guys did, right? Hopefully we never have to go through a pandemic again, but like, coming out of that, like, where are we now? What's next? What's going on? What are the goals?
Well, one of the things we learned, I learned, is we can't do this ourselves, right? We need to leverage. We needed a team. Dylan was burnt out. I don't think the position this guy has is crazy. It's not only it's a new business, but it's recording, it's editing. I've been sitting next to this guy for almost 3 years, and I still don't understand, from recording this 1 hour and then editing 15 hours. Like, how the hell you, like, 15 hours? Like, these machines do it itself. Like, they edit themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so, Dylan's sitting in front of the like, he's texting me at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, questions this and that. And yeah, it just got a little too much work, and we were falling behind.
Yeah.
So leverage, hire, and build a team and let them take it to the next level.
Yeah.
I learned that in other businesses, so it was the right time to pull the trigger here.
Totally.
And I think I think slowly, like, in the past few months, we're seeing the company starting to stand on its 2 feet. Maybe it's what I mean, starting to anyways. And I think hopefully in this next year it can stand upright. But yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And you realize that's what we were talking about, is scaling. Like, I never understood what.
No, that's good. Scaling.
Yeah,
well, keep talking about.
Yeah, like I heard, watch a lot of Gary Vee or whatever and shit like that, and we talk about scaling. And prior to starting Steinbach, I was like I know what it means, like, you grow your business, but I didn't actually know what it meant in detail. Like, to scale a business was just kind of like, whatever, I don't have to worry about it, like, kind of a foreign concept. And now I know exactly what the hell it means and how difficult it is. And
I don't even know if I know what it means necessarily. Like, what does it mean?
You'll never know what it means until you go through it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it is, right? So
Yeah.
Dylan was like right in the heat of it. He was just going through all this stuff, and he's like, I don't know what scaling. I didn't know what scaling business meant, but now I'm in it now.
And I couldn't even probably describe it to you. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
like you said, it's hard to, because I think it's different for everyone too. It's just different in the market, whatever market you're in. Or if you have a more niche business, I think it probably varies. But ultimately, in principle, there's core factors there that remain the same. And I think that was when it came down to, like, I never thought that I would be spending more time reaching out to people, writing contracts, dealing with shit like that. Like, that's part of it. And
Yeah.
what I noticed too, we had that article that Sabi wrote, the Victor article, who founded Sapura, And
we're gonna link that as well.
yeah,
I hope so. Can we link articles? Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
Put
sure.
it in
Figure
the
out a way.
description.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Yes, we
in the
can.
description.
Of course.
It's up here. It's up here, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, like, because he's an inventor of sorts, and that was his thing too. He's like, he never realized that it would be like dealing with legal and accounting, and it's like you think, oh, I'm going to start my own business or whatever, and I'm going to be inventing, and I'm going to be at the lab, creating shit and changing the world. It's like, no, you're doing all this shit first.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, part of scaling too, and then it's finding a you and finding a Sam and finding all the other people to do what they do well and complement. And obviously it's baby steps at first, but that's part of it. You got to figure out a way.
Yeah, and it's like the need to scale always grows out of that it's too much for you to do yourself, right? Suddenly it's like, I can't do this all myself, so I need a team because I have more business, so we need more people. And then suddenly you're like, oh, I'll have all this free time because I have all these people. And then suddenly your work becomes your work becomes managing those people, right? And then that's the next step, and why a lot of people get into these positions, and the work never stops. Right now you're a manager, right? Now you have a team, and there's actually probably a little bit more on your plate, just in a different realm, right?
Yeah.
And then so you've obviously had experience probably building or hiring before. Dylan, is this like your first experience hiring? I'm interested to know that. Yeah. What's that like?
It's interesting. It's funny. The first thing that I realized, because I've done, well, I'm not acting right now, but I did acting in the past. And as an actor, you go into the audition room and you especially when you're starting out, even if you're not, there's this buildup of nerves. Like, oh, are they going to hate me? Like, what if I make the wrong choice or the wrong decision or whatever the hell it is? And you're standing there and you got the director and the casting director and the producers, and they're all sitting back there and you're just going, fuck, and you're shaking, whatever. And what I realized on a similar note, when we first, I think it was whether it was graphic designer or something first, or videographer, like a year ago, prior to even incorporating, I think we had put out like an ad for another videographer.
Yeah.
And I like cinematography, videography, so the only thing I was hoping was when I open up that next email, is this going to be the best demo reel I've seen? Like, I wanted nothing more than for that to be the best demo reel. Sam's, when I saw Sam's, there was like no question about it. So, but I really wanted to see that, right? And I think to kind of give that other perspective as an actor going into that room, it's like those casting directors, those directors, producers, they want you to be the best person. They want you to be. So it actually taught me more about getting out there myself. Like hiring taught me more about the other side, where it's like, there's lots out there, and if you're good, people want to see it, and to put yourself out there and get yourself out there. So it I guess that's what I learned about it in a roundabout way. I know
but it's true. Like, and that's a great way to go about hiring. And I've probably been in interview situations where I'm just trying to think about what you just said, and I'm like, oh, it's great. Like, of course everybody should want the next person they see to be the best one. Sometimes you'll go into interviews and you'll be interviewing with someone. It's like, do you just do this for sport? Like, do you just do this for fun? But like, that's a great way to go about hiring from someone that's done very minimal hiring. But you want to make your job easy. You want everything you open to be exactly what you're looking for. But sometimes it's just not that.
For
right?
sure.
So during that stage, I kept saying to Dylan, I wanna make sure you're clear of this. Sam contacted me prior to applying, and he goes, Sunil, could you edit my work? I'm like, yeah, sure, Sam, I'll edit your work. So you saw my work.
Right, yeah, typical, yeah.
Sunil, you have so many talents.
It's called banter.
How did you get so many talents? I don't understand it.
It's just me. It's just being me.
Just wake up every day and get better.
You don't even need to scale a business. You can do it all.
I just smile.
You don't even need a team.
I just smile.
You just want someone to talk to.
Oh, yeah. True.
It's true.
It is. I like talking. But one of the things I was telling Dylan here is skill is important. It's not number one for me. Number one for me is the character. Bring that person in. Let's chat. Because if somebody comes in, their attitude is awesome, and their skill is okay, we can always work on the skill. But if somebody comes in and the skill is amazing, but the attitude just sucks, it's cancer to a company. And we don't need that.
No.
Right?
You said that to me in my interview.
Did I?
Yeah, you said that line to me.
See?
I remember it. I remember
See?
it well.
See?
Yeah.
Your character's okay.
I'm working on it, okay?
Good.
I was in residential real estate. That hurt my soul for a long time.
Realtors, you hear that?
Long time. No, it's a hard business. It hardens you. I was so much more positive. Can you imagine? Before I had to go through that process. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, because that line, you said that it immediately triggered for me the biggest hiring, whatever, team building line that I know, and it's that people don't leave jobs, they leave people. Right? It's not about and I think that rings true for many people I know, myself included. Right? It's really about the people you surround yourself with. Like, don't discredit the power of working for somebody that you actually like. It's so freaking powerful, and that's coming up for people a lot during the pandemic. Right? Lots of people are on that career path or change or whatever you want to call it, because it's now all the more important. It's sort of.
We were just having this conversation when these guys were setting up here.
Oh yeah.
Right, about for me, if I'm not talking to somebody and having that conversation, I'm not learning. I don't learn from books. I don't learn from watching a movie or a TV show. YouTube I do, but I got to be in the right state of mind. But when I'm talking to somebody or listening to podcasts, I learn so much that way, right? It's you just got to find out what you learn from it and go from there.
Very customer service / hospitality mindset, I think, like that, or just the power of like extroversion, right? And just talking to people. And it is really energizing for people, and myself included. And you don't always realize, I think that going through the social isolation, it sort of made me think for a little while, like, am I an introvert? And then it was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm just confined to your home. Like, it's like having these conversations is so cool. So I mean, what, like, in the last however long, you can tell me either the best conversation that you've had or your proudest moment since SciBook has become SciBook.
Like best conversation
you've
with
had
anyone?
With anyone, or like the most powerful conversation.
Every morning we'll talk to myself in the mirror.
Oh man, to be that mirror.
I juice myself up every day. Pump myself up, but it works for me. Seriously, I'm joking here, right? But at the same time, I do.
Yeah.
Right, like, you're awesome. Go and get it. You deserve it. People around you deserve it.
You deserve it.
You deserve it. Yeah. People around you
it.
deserve it. Like, but I start my day off positive.
Yeah.
Right? If I wake up in the morning, and so many people do this, I'm not worthy. I'm not grateful. I don't have this. I don't have that. Like, fuck.
Yeah. I'm stressed out.
I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
2020, I wake up. I got my mom and dad. I got my sisters. I'm good. I'm good. Okay, next step. I got my company. I got Dylan. I got you guys around. Let's go.
Let's go.
Right? Let's go.
Proudest moment? Is there something?
Proudest moment in business? Just watching this guy grow.
Oh
no! It's just a different.
Do we have sound effects?
Yeah, that was just the sound effect.
Very done.
But just watching him grow over the last 3 years, it's crazy. From a guy like doing this and kicking the air, right? Still does it today, but scaling a business and dealing with people and figuring things out, and like I can step back, and honestly, I got the number 2 role. Right, I will step in, I will guide, I will mentor, but I let him do
what he does best.
Yeah.
Well,
not do best. He does that already, but learn.
Yeah.
I don't want to take that experience away from somebody. I've been through that already multiple times. So allowing somebody else, and I'm gonna always be there if something happens. Like, okay, Dylan, you know what? No, don't do it this way. This is what happens. Let's figure this stuff out here. But I'm number 2.
That's big, though.
Yeah, and I think, like you're talking about every day, sticking with it. And I think for myself, like, proudest moment, I don't really have. I think just getting through and sticking through. Like, I'll say that's a proud moment. And even you don't really think about it. I haven't really thought about it. Yeah. I just thought about it now when you said that. Like, what's a moment? And I think this process and sticking through and adapting and changing, like, and looking back and being like, yeah, you know what, like, it hasn't been easy. And I think, for us to pull together and do this, I think that's a cool moment too. And yeah, it's every day, because there's been some conversations that I wouldn't have otherwise had this year, some negative ones that, starting a business or having a publication, and from external factors, and I think going back to what you said, it's that just kind of goes in one ear out the other. In the moment, whatever you're like I said, like Sunil said, I'll kick the air, punch a wall. No, I don't punch a wall, but I might say
punch the air, not the wall.
Punch air. Yeah. Or say a few swear words, and then you get up and move on, because every day it's like you just you push through, and it's noise. So yeah, that's what I would say is that. And I don't think you can, there's ever a time where you arrive in building a business. So it's not like I would say proudest moment is when we made it. I don't even know what the fuck that means. So I'm just proud that we're doing it, I guess, put it that way.
We're still working towards it.
Yeah.
Still working on it.
Made it as the first microphone we bought. Made it as the first computer we bought.
Yeah.
Or the first employee you had. That's making it.
Yeah, the first
check.
Yeah.
Right?
And most
for 8 cents off of Medium.
Yeah. Well, no. Here's another thing. Lot of businesses do not make money. We're making it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're making it. We have businesses coming in. Right.
Being profitable, right? Are you referring to that? Or
we're not going to be profitable for a long time because media companies is a lot of expenses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's production gear, and this is. Dylan was saying this is like entry level stuff, right? We're starting to get into the $100,000 cameras. Then we're looking at something totally different. But yeah, we have business coming in.
Yeah. But through the process, obviously, it's all been a learning curve, right? Your new experiences, any real standout, as something that you obviously weren't prepared for any of it, but was anything a real wow, I was not expecting this to be something that I had to integrate into my job, or is that too open-ended of a question?
No, I see that. I think for me, I kind of had touched on it before. I didn't realize that I would be spending more time on the things that I in my mind shouldn't be spending time on. Writing contracts, sending emails, replying to texts, doing all the foundation building, legwork, groundwork. In my mind, that's just not at all what I had expected.
Yeah.
Right. I thought I'd just be sitting producing content, but the content still has to be made, and it still has to be done.
Yeah.
So it's just not having time in the way that you did. I think that's, for me at this point, would be the biggest thing.
For me is in all the business I got involved in, I got involved because I knew about that business and I can do something with it.
Yeah.
On this business, I don't know what the hell to do on the content side.
Gotcha.
I can't, hey Dylan, what do you got? Let me edit this for you. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, do what Sam's doing, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you call that. Video shooting. Right?
What do you call that again?
Right?
Oh yeah.
Right,
shooting.
That kind of stuff. So I'm no help. Right, and that's something that really frustrates me sometimes, especially when this guy's behind and we're waiting on stuff happening and I can't do that. It's just it frustrates me.
There's something to be said for not having the technical knowledge, but you still have some perspective when it comes to producing creative, and what you like to see, what you like to see in terms of content. But I mean, you were a creative before this, Dylan. You were in video editing, you were doing all that before. So now that you're in a position where have you always been in a position where you were pretty much doing the direction of it all, or what's it been like for you in that
from
space?
a content creation perspective?
Yeah.
For Cybuck?
Yeah.
Ethno, we started and it was just me going out and doing everything and
for full control. I think that's what I'm referring to. Is now you sort of have what a lot of creatives work a long time to get to is of course we have clients so that we do things for that are more mandated, but in some respects, especially with Sunil not having a whole lot of opinion or input, it's sort of the sky's the limit.
Oh, I have an opinion.
Oh yes. Oh, we know.
Do I listen to it?
We know.
No, I have an opinion.
But that's something that's really interesting about your guys' working relationship is I think it's also because you work well together and you've known each other for a long time. But yeah, Sunil, you'll give an opinion and sometimes you are and sometimes you say no. No, that's not it. And then sometimes he gives an opinion and from your perspective, no, we really can't do that. So it's bridging that gap, but also for you, like to have that full control. It seems like a blessing until you're in it, or is it still? Like what has that been like?
Yeah. I don't know. I think I still refer to Sunil for a lot of the business operations stuff, right? Like I'm happy to just kind of run with him on that. There's creative stuff where I might not be as inclined to listen, but I do. But at the same time I am though, right? Like
I guess some good ideas.
You have it once in a while. It's like, oh yeah, shit. Yeah,
I won't. 2 out of 1,000.
I won't let him know that I changed it or that I that he was right. But
I know.
But yeah, in terms, I don't know. But even then, I think like working with now with Sam and even with Sabby or Crystal and stuff, where there's other creative components now coming in, creative people, that's an element where that control is being delegated a bit more and you lose a bit of that control. And so going back to scaling, like Ethno, like I at the beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine, I'll just produce like a short doc every month and I'll start a podcast and it's good and that'll be it, and like we don't have to worry about it. I'm like, that's not fucking gonna happen. And so, but then realizing that you gotta let stuff go to other people, and you gotta relinquish that control. And so I think part of that too is interest. Like you have the other aspect, and I guess I'm kind of getting there too from the creative side. And in my mind, I can be headstrong on the creative side. So to kind of let that go and have other creatives come in and have their voices heard. It's I don't think it's an issue for me, but it's maybe a little more challenging than it seems at first sight to,
But it's necessary. Like
100% necessary.
And it's hard.
100%.
It's hard for people, but I truly, this is just my perspective, but I think the biggest hurdle to scaling is not being able to trust your team and not being able to relinquish control. Because once you get to a certain size, you can't take that same time to review everything, right? Like you can't, of course it's your name and some people do amazing things and don't sleep and whatever else they do, but that's big for people is when it's your vision, it's your company, but then you have to relinquish control over certain things in order to make more and grow, right? And
like you said, it's 100% necessary, and that's where I come back to is that when I think that, oh, okay, maybe like should I want to just jump in here or continue doing that, it's like, no, it's you can't scale if you do that. So that's all it is. It's just that quick conversation, right?
Yeah.
With yourself. And like I think there's two different things, like trusting your team and being and wanting to be in control. I think are two different things, because I trust everyone.
Yes.
But there's still that little element, right, where you want to be involved. Which I think when you're starting out, it's a little more direction, and then you build that relationship, it becomes less and less of an issue. And
absolutely.
Right. But yeah.
And here we are. And what's next?
What's next is growing.
More of this.
More, yeah.
I actually think this needs to be like this podcast needs to be a monthly thing or something.
A regular deal? Why not? If you can get over my ridiculously animated voice, that's fine.
It's perfect.
Are you sure?
You were the Anderson Cooper that we needed to mediate this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. My musical theater days have paid off, or like my public speaking or whatever you want to call it.
Did you do musical theater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was my thing. When I was growing up. I was like a singer / actor type person. That was what I loved and wanted to do.
Do you still sing?
I do not openly sing unless you see me.
Drinks.
Yeah.
Karaoke.
One day we will go for karaoke, I promise you, or socially distanced karaoke, and I will do for you my signature karaoke song, which is Shoop by Salt and Pepper. So please, let that marinate for yourselves.
I think that's to leave that for the listener. Let them imagine that on the way out.
Tuned.
Perfect.
Sam, bring the camera.
Oh my gosh. But in addition to rapping, I used to sing.
Rapping too?
Well, Shoop is a rap.
Oh, yeah, no, I know Shoop is a rap.
I used to sing. So I take like a lot of pride in that, but of course then it changes your vocals when you do training for to sing, and especially to sing at a certain level. I definitely think that it affects it, and I've been told before that I have like a Disney pitch to my voice. So
definitely.
I can see that.
Whatever that means. But yeah, I'm not about to go and be a Disney princess anytime soon. So I think that you got me for a bit.
Well, let us know if you plan on doing that.
Cruise ships are over, so I can't be a Disney princess. / Disney World is over, so I think I'm out of work.
Yeah.
Can't really be one of those on Zoom. I don't think it's as effective.
Should we like singing for kids' birthday parties?
Yeah, that's sort of the next frontier.
You never know.
That might be the next frontier for entertainment. You heard it here
It's
first.
great content. Great content for
It's
Cybook.
good content, yeah.
It is good content.
My brain's going actually thinking about this stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, I don't have anything else on my list to
Awesome.
ask you.
All right, let's wrap this up, guys.
wrap it up.
Wrap it up. All right, guys. I think this is going to be the last time I'm going to be on air here for a bit. Happy 2020. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. All the best to you in 2021. Till next time.
Ciao.
Till next year.
Till next
Till
year.
next year.